Hi, it's happy Sunday. Kind of a little weird day out here. It's definitely not Southern California weather again. It's cloudy. I don't know how long I'm going to have to wait before I can actually get in that pool and soak in that nice warm water. How are you guys today? I thought maybe possibly, since I said I'd tell you a funny story, that we would start today off with religion and spirituality and just things we believe and do. It's Sunday, so I just thought I'd throw that in there. So my music's a little loud. Hold on. My background music today is Luke Bryan, By Dirt. I just love that song. So today, let's see. Let me tell you my testimony. So I'm a Christian. I fully 100% believe in God. No doubt about it. But I have this other side to me too that likes the chakras and the Reiki stuff and the meditations. I think it's all supposed to be kind of put together. And I mean, God gave us the knowledge to do those things. So in my mind, it's all good. It's all good as long as it's good, right? I mean, meditation's good. Going to church is good. Singing is good. Like all the things, just worshiping together, to fellowship, to get together, which I'm pretty bad about because I'm shy and I'm not out in the public a lot anymore. And that's another thing I really need to work on. I'm just shy. I'm not good at being with a big crowd. So, funny story. My husband really never wanted to go to church with me. I liked church and had always gone, but just kind of stopped once I got married, and he wasn't too into it, so I kind of blew it off. But anyway, at that point, we have to hire a babysitter for our kids because school decided to turn to year-round for a bit. And while they were year-round, there was nobody to babysit the kids. And I had a really cool job with the state of California. I had a really cool job that I loved. And all of a sudden I was left with having to find a permanent babysitter, every couple of weeks for full time. And so my boss told me about this place. This part's not funny, just by the way. My boss told me about this great place that they knew that did daycare. And I took my kids there and interviewed them. And my husband and I went and had even a barbecue. It was a couple living on a farm, kind of, lots of animals, which was something my kids had never experienced. So my little girl was loving the little rabbits and all the little, animals on the farm. They had a couple other kids, whatever. Anyhow, we hired them. Long story short, which I can get into another time. I don't know, this is kind of an interesting story. One day I go to work and I'm just going to tell you, my boss asks me how my new babysitter's working out. And I'm like, oh, I think they're fine. And he's like, who did you end up going with? And I tell him about one of them. They referred me. And he says, I want you to take the rest of the day off and go pick up your children. And I'm going to tell you now, they're not in a good environment, but you need to go pick them up, but act like you know nothing. Act like I told you nothing. Just go pick them up. So I do what he says, and I'm crying all the way there because I'd really never left my kids with any kind of a babysitter before. This was so new to me, and I felt so confident in these people. They had adopted one of the babies, they said, and it was just a beautiful little baby. They had a toddler that was roaming around, and anyway, really cool people, we thought. So I show up there so let me back up. So I'm crying and 900 things are going through my head as to why my boss is telling me this all of a sudden. I pull over at a Del Taco, go in the bathroom, wipe my face, clean myself up, go into the house totally with hey, I'm here. I'm surprising my kids. I thought I'd pick them up early, blah, blah. When I arrive, my daughter's sitting on this man's lap in her bikini bathing suit. Now, mind you, she's only 4, but still. Or 5. She was 5. Still. He was her favorite person. He had been taking her out to the animal little places, in the bunny barns and whatever. So she was digging it. Anyhow, so that's how I arrived. I got the kids in the car, picked them up. When I picked them up, my son was not with the people that I knew. He was playing video games in a room with a bunch of much older boys. My son at the time was, I think, 5th grade. So he was playing video games. Good way to sidetrack him anyhow. So I get the kids nonetheless. As I'm driving away, I'm feeling so sick in my stomach, like something's not right. There's something wrong with these people. I'm scared. What happened with my daughter? Oh, and I know this is really dumb, but when we left, the man that was holding my daughter said, "Don't forget, Chelsea, wear your bathing suit again tomorrow." And that, for some reason, sat weird in me. It just sat weird in me. I don't know why. It just didn't sit well. So anyway, get the kids, get down the street, pull over to that Del Taco again. Mind you, I'm in like an area that I'm not familiar with, and it's like all farmy, like lots of land in between things at the time. And I decide that I'm going to just call the police station there. So I called the police station in that city, and within like 15 minutes, you heard a million sirens and all these cop cars and all this craziness going down the road. And they went directly to this house and they arrested these people who had been, basically, they were a child molest ring of some sort. They didn't adopt that baby. They had kidnapped that baby that I thought they had adopted. They had been arrested and imprisoned for child molestation. They had not registered where they were at when I turned them in. It was something just totally crazy. So this story that I'm telling you is to tell you about my spirituality, my Christianity, my belief in God. I went home just dumbfounded, was furious at my work because it turns out that the guy in dispatch was the guy that referred me to these people, and he was related to them. So the story just kept getting worse. The couple, when they get to jail, they're calling my house and threatening me on my phone, leaving messages on my phone from jail, threatening me, or not from jail, but from when they got out of jail. Anyhow, so I quit that job because my boss had the nerve to tell me I just needed to pull my big girl panties up and deal with what happened. It wasn't that big a deal. To me, it was a big deal. It was a huge deal. I was freaking out. So when I got home, I told my husband I quit my job. You know, we needed the money at the time for sure. And I told him, I was like, you know what? There is no way in hell I'm going back to work ever again unless there's a job that's from 8 to 12, which was the hours my daughter was in school for kindergarten, 8 to 12, Monday through Friday, at a Baptist church. So I laid it out. I wanted 8 to 12 job at a Baptist church, period. Everybody's laughing at me. It was just kind of like something I put out there because in a perfect world, wouldn't that be ideal, right? You're working for a church where everybody's going to be kind and loving, and I'm not going to have to worry about whether my kids are getting molested, just all kinds of craziness. So do you know that about 4 weeks later, I checked the newspaper in my little town every day, but about 4 weeks later, I'm going through the jobs in the newspaper, and there it is. Receptionist for a Southern Baptist church, Monday through Friday, 8 to 12. I jumped in my car so fast, drove over there. I didn't even care what they paid. It didn't matter. I just wanted that job. So I get there, and I'm literally like being my over-the-top kindness, which I'm working on because it can be too much for me. I'm holding the door open as I see like a whole bunch of other mothers that have that same idea in their head applying for the job. And there's a bunch, like a whole bunch. And I'm the last one to interview. Hit it off really well with the main office lady, which was the lady that would be hiring me. And before I got home, there was a message on my machine already telling me that I needed to come back for an interview with the pastor. Holy shit. Sorry. Holy crud. I was so freaked out. I was scared. I was intimidated. I didn't know much about the Bible. How was I going to get this job? Surely everybody in that church and all those women that applied knew way more than me. But I knew I could do phones and secretary stuff. So I was like, okay. So on my application, it asked reason for leaving your past job. And I wrote serious family issue. So when I get to meet this pastor, Jonathan, what a blessing this man is. Anyway, I go in for my interview with Jonathan, and we hit it off pretty good, but the first or second question he asks me is, can you tell me what the serious family issue is? And I had already told him that I hadn't been going to church, that I was raised in a Catholic church, and that I did go to church all my childhood. But as an adult, I hadn't gone to church much, and that I wasn't being a very good Christian, and blah, blah, blah. You know, because they were asking you questions like, can you pray out loud with people? Are you comfortable with this, that, or the other? And some of the things I wasn't. But anyway, he asked me what the issue was, and I decided to tell him. And before I got home, I had a phone call that I got the job. And I worked there for about 6-7 years. And not only that, my husband was never going to go to church again. Ever, ever, ever. It was not happening. But every day, little by little, Jonathan and I prayed for him to go to church. Meanwhile, I went every Sunday, and I brought my kids, and I got my son involved in the youth group, which was such a humongous, best blessing ever for that kid. Best blessing ever. Anyway, just, it couldn't have been better. And so my son and my daughter started following also. And little by little, you know, my husband just worked into it. Became a deacon, got really involved. Sunday school, all kinds of things. It was crazy. It was like God, that's my testimony. God answered every prayer for me right then. Every prayer. And my life got better and better and better. So 2 funny stories now. One for each kid. Based on this whole religious story I'm telling you. Well, first, every week when you fill out the little welcome cards when you go to church, my son was filling his out. And on the welcome card, one of the questions is, today did you pray to receive Jesus Christ into your heart? And he wrote, he checks yes, and he checks yes every Sunday. He writes the same thing every Sunday. So the pastor comes and he's like, I think we need to talk to Jimmy. He keeps over and over and over again praying to receive Christ. And I don't think he's understanding that he only needs to ask Jesus into his heart once. And Jesus will always be in his heart forever, just once. So we go to talk to Jimmy, and he says, well, I had to do that because every single week I'm bad. LOL. So he thought that every single week he had to ask Jesus back into his heart so he could save himself from being bad the week before. It was hilarious. And then an even funnier story. The first week I'm working at that church, I meet the board members of the church, and they're all these like much older, kind of bougie, really straight-laced, I don't know, just people I wasn't used to in my life. You know, Southern Baptist women, classy, super beautiful, well put together, can cook like no other. Anyhow, I just met all these women, and then I go home from work and I grab my daughter and I head over to Ross. And I'm in Ross shopping for just clothes, just having, you know, a whatever day. And my daughter's playing in the underwear as I'm going through the bras and stuff. She's playing right below me in the underwear. And there's some older ladies. I can see just their heads on the other side of the clothes, but I couldn't see their faces. And my daughter holds up a thong. Now, mind you, this was back in, she was born in 1990, so it was 1995. She holds up a thong, and she's like, Mom, what kind of underwear is this? And I said, she said, what is this? And it looks like a string pretty much. And I'm like, oh, that's a pair of underwear. It's called a thong. And she says, oh yeah, like right. As if a vagina's gonna fit on that. Well, that was embarrassing and funny, I thought, LOL. On the other side, those ladies are laughing their heads off. And I come out from around the corner all sheepish looking, you know, just like, oh, my daughter. And it's the ladies from church. So right then I realized they were real. They weren't just these scary women that I needed to be intimidated by. They were fun, they were loving, they were hilarious, they were cracking up at my daughter. It was just good. Anyway, that's kind of my story for today, my testimony, why I believe in God. I have a lot more to tell you, but I'm going to go in now. It's kind of cold. It's weird weather. And I'll talk to you guys, I hope, again soon, maybe tomorrow. And have a really good day. Bye.